Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you're all doing well. My name is Andrea, and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. I know that some of you watched my YouTube at the beginning, and some of you were wondering what the content is about. And I'm sorry for the ones that were missing the previous videos, but I just needed to get more familiar with the use of YouTube and everything that came in the background, like how the lighting should be, how the video should be, and so many other technical things that I needed to learn. And I just felt much more comfortable to do all these things in my main language or in my mother tongue, that is Spanish. But I'm very glad to now give you the possibility to also listen to the content of my YouTube channels also in English, and letting you know that the main aim of all these YouTube videos is to open a respectful dialogue about faith and diversity. Moreover, before jumping to today's topic, I would like to encourage you to go on the description of this video to read more about the videos I posted before in Spanish, and that if you have any question in relation to them, let me know. I'll gladly share more information to you. So, another thing I wanted to point out before going to the to the topic of today very quickly is that you also can go to my Instagram or Facebook accounts and see the calendar that I posted on the topics I'll be talking about these coming 3 months, so January, February, and March of 2021. So please feel free to send me a message or an email if you have any comments, any thoughts in relation to all these topics I would like to talk about. So, for this month, I'm very excited because I'll be talking about the positive culture, and today's topic is on self-love. You might wonder why I want to talk about self-love, and I think the main reason is because we are surrounded with a culture, a positive culture that is always talking about loving yourself, loving your body, loving your color, loving your roots, loving your thoughts, loving your perspective, seeking to know your inner self, and so many other things that I would like to address this time. And as for me and for the background that I grew up in, I was always taught to self-motivate myself, to thrive for my own independence, to being my own self, because all these thoughts were the norm, and that's the way of culture that I was raised in. And I was blindly following to all these thoughts and all these teachings until the point that I landed, or that I came before, or came to sorry, I forgot how you said that verb, but I came to Danube Church, to the church that I currently attend, and I just cannot be more grateful to God for the people that He has surrounded myself with, that I'm now able to see the differences and how weak these norms or these beliefs of this positive culture are nowadays, at least for my life. So I would like to briefly mention to you what the Oxford Dictionary defines this word, like this self-love. It mentions, it's a noun, by the way, and it said that it's a feeling that your own happiness and your wishes are important. The reason why I'm citing so much is because that's another thing that I've understand nowadays, that everything nowadays is about how you feel, about feelings, about emotions, about the circumstances, instead of what is actually the truth. So the type of culture that we live nowadays is so focused mostly on the notion of being able to love yourself in such a narcissistic way that you will do everything you can to obtain what you want. Just do a very quick scan, and this is as a challenge that I also did for myself, to go and scan your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or any other social media platforms that you use, and consider what you are centering yourself the most. Is it in you? Is it on your friends? Is it on nature, on trips, or whatever it is? The content of your social media accounts. What do you actually think they are for? Is it a reflection of your life, or is it a reflection of other people's lives? And what do you actually pay most of your attention to? So one of the things that I also want to mention is that I believe that this message is mostly targeted to people of the millennial and Generation Z groups, because we were born in this time when the internet and technology had an immense growth in such a relative or a very short period of time. So now I would like to give a very quick statistics that mention the why this culture is the way that it is nowadays. So that you know, Facebook nowadays is the second social media platform with most users in the world. Just so that you can have an idea about the numbers, in 2011, Facebook had 1 million users. Then in 2012, so just 1 year after, it had 700 million users, and in 2020 that number jumped to 2.7 billion users. As I said, is now the second most used social media platforms around the world. And did you know that Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp all belong to Facebook? So anything you post on either of these platforms is synchronizing the internal system of Facebook, that uses algorithms to give you options related to all the things you post and that you are researching on. They scan your likes, your preferences, your dislikes, your location, and many other things. The point I want to do with all these things is that these social media platforms are user-centered, which means that they are created in a way that will feed the type of interest you have and the desires you eagerly seek for. We are trapped in a culture that constantly reminds you to think about you, your interest, what you love, what you don't like, and is, as you can see, is really centered on yourself. And myself, of course. Social media isn't the only problem, but the boom of internet in the 90s have also carried many side effects. For instance, David Loxton and his colleagues posted on the portal Medicine National Institutes in the US in 2012 research that demonstrated or that show a positive correlation between the prevalence of internet users with general population suicide rates. Many research have found that teens that tend to fall on these extremist cases of committing suicide have started to isolate themselves to just be on internet or in social media because most of them come from unstable environments, meaning of environments that lack communication with family, with friends, and there is a persisting emotional, psychological, and environmental stressors. These have led them to a sense of hopelessness and to seek cyber communities where they can find their identities. It was very scary for me to discover that there are platforms and websites that actually talk about self-harming yourself. So this is like a really dark side that the internet has caused also in our societies nowadays. Another factor I know that most of you know is also cyberbullying. That is impacting many teenagers until the point of committing suicide. But how is all this related to self-love, you will ask? You might consider maybe that I'm over exaggerating everything, but I need to point out things that are actually a fact, and that these facts and this reality, this tough reality, need to be addressed. it took me some time to get into terms with one of the sermons that I heard, I think a month ago, of Francis Chan, where he says that sociologists have found that that this generation is far is the most narcissistic culture that 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 have ever existed. And I quote him. He said in the sermon, "We think it's normal and acceptable for every single person in the United States to create a page talking about themselves. They all of them want that everyone will look at them, everyone thinking, I have the opinion that is going to change the world, and we think that's normal." What I can just say now is that God, I just thank God that he opened my eyes and he made me aware of these contrasting cultures, the Christian culture and the secular culture, and that it has allowed me to see the dangers that the use of this platform can create. And at least for me, I can say with confidence that he really released me from this addiction that I had towards social media, and to seek approval from people, from friends, from family, from my husband, from colleagues, from so many people, where and I thank him, because he made me realize that that's not where my identity is found. Please, now I would like to for you to pay even more attention and listen to this following passage that is stated in the Bible, and that the Apostle Paul mentioned to the church of to Timothy. So in 2 Timothy chapter 3, he says, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Have nothing to do with such people." From all these attitudes that I read from verses 2 to 5, let me ask you, what are the ones you need to ask God to change you? What are the weights or sins that hinder or stop you from seeking God alone for transformation? The book of Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you might discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." With all this being said, I would like to invite you to be careful. That you can notice that what can start as a way of just showing off your life and pretending that your life is perfect and beautiful and all rosy, can actually bring a lot of anxiety, depression, until the point of suicide. Don't go to the extreme point. Just as Paul said, "I have the right to do anything you said, but nothing is beneficial. But not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive." I would like now to encourage you to seek for Christ for your identity, and to know that self-love is a man-made concept, and only God alone can give you the identity that you so much eagerly look for. That you are not God. You are not God. And that you don't need to show off to the world who you aren't, only for approval or for the need to belong somewhere. God loves you, and it's only from Him that you can find your identity. And maybe you will ask me, why or how can I be so sure about His love? Well, what I can just tell you is because it is that I've been walking with Him several years, and He's just my delight. I just gaze upon Jesus, and and I always and intentionally try to have my times with him and know what he says about me. And in Psalm 139 he says, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. As you can see, the biblical perspective about self-love is totally opposite to what the world says, because it's actually all about God and then about us and the others. When Christ was on earth, he said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily, and follow me, and follow Christ. This means that every sin must be slain, that every part of you and me that doesn't reflect him must be renounced. And not just once, but daily. This, of course, cannot be done unless you know the character of Christ, unless you know the immense sacrifice he did for you and me. And it won't be easy for you to understand the deepness of his love if you don't seek for him and if you don't pray to him to show it to you. And just last but not least, I will just tell you that all these verses are applicable for you, and as long as you are able and willing to open your heart to God and to allow him to transform your life, because that's his ultimate purpose for sending his son to die for us. Lastly, I will just leave you some few additional verses that you can use and that you can read in relation to God's love for us. And just last but not least, I would like to also encourage you to subscribe and share to the people that you know that this video will edify their lives. And I really hope that this video also is edifying you in of course in a positive way. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week with the topic of I want to make an impact in the world. God bless you and take care of yourselves. Bye bye.